that we have recording. I hope it's okay from your side as well. So we'll have the recordings, and then all of us will be able to look at the recordings. And I see all the students are joining now. Okay, we'll wait another minute till everybody join us. Meanwhile, I will tell you that today in Israel is the Holocaust Day, and most of our students, usually at the Holocaust Day, we have ceremonies at the university, and most of our students were attending ceremonies through the Zoom, which is really very strange. For me, this class was a little bit complicated, or maybe I don't know how to express my feelings, because my mother, she's from Slovakia, in a part that was Hungarian. That's why I know a few words, little bit to speak in Tudom beszélni module. This was that I know to speak Hungarian. And actually her family was taken to a place near the Slovak border. It's called Ujhel. I don't know if this is the name now. There is, Ildiko, there is a place, Ujhel, now in, you are not sure.
I'm not sure. I would have to look it up.
Okay, sure. So it's just near the border. I visited there, and I went to the place where the ghetto was. There was a ghetto where all the Jewish people were brought there from Slovakia, and from that place, her family was taken to Auschwitz in Poland, and most of my family were killed there. My mother survived, and she came back. And then from Slovakia, she came to Israel as a survivor of the Holocaust. So yesterday, I spoke with my children, and I told them that today I have a class, and in the day of the Holocaust, that in some place I'm thinking about my mother's family and the ghetto and Auschwitz and Slovakia and Hungary. It was you know, a mixed feeling where I am, and then thinking about the COVID-19 area and the issue that we are now in a situation of a ghetto. We are segregated, and we have again issues of stereotypes about people. Like at the beginning of the COVID-19, there was a I don't know if you were in some places near people that look Chinese, and I saw people that are taking going to the other side because they didn't want to be near Chinese people. In Israel, we had a problem of one of the cities called Bnei Brak, where people who are ultra-Orthodox live, and they are big families, and it was really a very bad situation. And what was there is that they were surrounded by police, and it reminded me like being in a ghetto of their time. So I think that one of the conclusions that I got from this time and thinking about the Holocaust time, that we have all the time to think about being a human being is everyone is the same, and we have, you know, to insist of taking care of each one of us, and this is the only way that we can win in this struggle against viruses or other disasters that we can face in this world. And the collaboration, it's a very important issue. So this is my thought about the special day that we are today and the special event that we have now to come to our final presentation. And I know that it was a very short exercise, and it's not really a big collaboration project. It was only an exercise. And of course, if we want to do something, you know, deeper, we have to collaborate for at least one semester, you know, and even more than it. I'm doing a lot of intercultural collaboration that starts from one semester and continue the second semester. But I think it was interesting, and we can learn a lot from this exercise. Okay, so this is my opening. I think most of the students are here. And Ildiko, do you want to add something?
Yeah, it was very nice to hear your story, Miri. I didn't know that you were going to share this, but I think it's very important, and especially on this day. I have a completely different story coming to this web collaboration, but I think the big lesson to draw from all the problems and all the troubles and all the disasters that happened and happen still in the world is that we have to get to know each other and learn about each other and appreciate each other and accept each other, and then hopefully we can avoid disasters in the future. Maybe this virus is actually bringing us closer to each other. I'm not sure yet, but I mean, there is certainly physical distancing and some social distancing, but at least we have the internet and we can connect and we can work together like in this mini project. I would like to share something in the chats for the Hungarian speakers of the class. There is, because it's Holocaust Memorial Day, there is in Budapest a guided tour in Hungarian of the Danube banks, that all the names that the Danube banks got are from people who saved a lot of Jews and who saved a lot of people during World War II. And this guided tour is going to be in Hungarian, and it's going to be in Zoom, and it's going to be led by a very good friend and colleague of mine, and he's brilliant. So if Hungarian speakers, you are interested, I'll share the link in the chat for you. Okay.
What time is it? Maybe I will join it too.
It's at 6 p.m. Budapest time.
Okay. Thank you.
And yeah, just an additional little note to those of you who don't know, Miri actually speaks very good Hungarian. Not just a little Hungarian.
It's confusing when I speak English to go to Hungarian. I have to switch, you know, different languages. Like if I want to say welcome, it will be difficult for me to say it in Hungarian. In Hebrew, it's Bruchim Habayim or Shalom. How you say it in Hungarian, welcome?
Can somebody help me?
Who can say welcome in Hungarian?
Üdvözöllek, maybe.
Again?
Üdvözöllek.
Üdvözöllek, which is greetings. Greeting.
Üdvözlek.
Üdvözöllek.
Üdvözöllek. Okay. So thank you. And I think that maybe we'll start with the presentation from the first group. So I don't know if you decided who will start and who will continue, and we'll ask you who would like to start with the first.
I think we can start with group 1.
Okay, thank you. And do you want to share the screen?
Yes, I will share my screen so you can see the presentation.
Okay.
Wait a second. Okay. You see my presentation?
Yes.
Yes, but we see also, you know, the
Yeah, I know.
if you can put it on.
Yes, I will.
Yeah.
In a moment. I just.
And before we start, I will close my microphone so there are no any noises, and those who don't speak will keep it also muted.
For some reason, I cannot put it on full screen.
It's okay. It's okay. We can see it. It's fine. In my end, it's fine.
Also, my connection just slowed down, but never mind. Okay, so go away, please. Thank you. So our topic was advantages and disadvantages of online collaborative learning. And the way we did this is we created a summary of what online collaborative learning is. And then we went through the advantages and disadvantages, mainly focusing on the students and the students' part, but also dealing with some teaching issues and the teacher's point of view. So, okay, so let's start with the advantages. First of all, we can say that recently this online collaborative learning became very popular. Not just now because of the virus, but even before that, in the recent years, with this rise of video chat applications, and we can see that more and more online classrooms are present on the internet. And one of the big advantages which I found, or we found, of this online collaborative learning is the enhanced global understanding on the students' part. Sorry, there's a typo there, so it's not class but part. And so people can meet with other cultures. They can learn about their worldviews and their views on given issues or topics, which will broaden their own worldview as well. Also, it is highly student-based, in contrast with the traditional, more teacher-based classroom activities. So students can have a bigger or an increased independence. They feel more autonomy. And because of this, the learning process can be more personalized as well, because everyone can add their own thoughts, opinions, and ideas to the discussion or to the project. They can share their own methodology as well if they want to. So it's more personalized than a task which should be solved individually in a classroom. For teachers, first of all, in an online project such as this one, there are usually more than one teachers. So they can also share their ideas with each other. They can also learn about new methods, ideas, views. And what I think is really interesting, that assessment and workload can be shared between them. So the individual teacher has less workload on themselves. Yes, and hopefully this will bring on a new generation of learning, which should be highly collaborative and international. And it could help to bridge cultures and basically revolutionize the way we think about learning. But as I mentioned, there are also disadvantages.
Okay, I will present the disadvantages.
Thank you.
Despite the advantages in terms of social and psychological benefits, students can feel a high level of frustration. So I will focus on the frustration. Students may experience stress and frustration in collaborating with people they don't know well. So high level of frustration and stress conflict with their own characteristics, objectives, and requirements, difficulties in communication, imbalance between individual expected mark and group mark. For example, in the research they made, they found that students say that their group members, some of the students want just to pass the course, and the other members want to be the best, to get the highest grade. So the misunderstandings and lack of instructors support. Do you have another slide?
Oh, yeah, no, I'm sorry. So actually, in the end, as the other group members cannot be here because of several issues, but we will present their part as well. So this is about the strategies which we can use to make collaborative learning smoother and more effective. So first of all, you have to learn about how cross-cultural collaboration works. So, you know, this is a skill which you can develop and learn about, which we actually did in this class. It's really important to learn about the other culture which you work with. It can really help you. And yeah, some additional difficulties here. The time zones can be very different, which obviously can cause problems. The language proficiency can be different, although I think that it can be a problem in a monocultural classroom as well. Technological problems can appear, and yeah, the cooperation of the instructors can be problematic. Luckily, now we don't really have this problem. Yes, and one additional advantage is the development of social skills, which first of all is a requirement to be effective in online collaborative learning, but also it can be an outcome of this whole project or projects. And basically, this was our presentation. You can read more details in our Wikipedia page. And yes, and you can also see the sources here. We have more, I don't know why they are not here, because we have 4 articles, but you can find them in the Wikipedia page, the title and the the sources basically. So thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. By the way, I looked at your wiki page, and you have only these two references there. But I think one of the advantages is to get all the group to work together. I think it's in some of the groups, you face the challenge of getting all the students to collaborate. And this is one of the challenges that you mentioned. But I think you covered a lot about online collaboration, summarizing nicely advantages and challenges and strategies for success. What I would like to ask all the participants, because we'll go from one group to the other, if you want to give a comment, then you can just speak, or alternatively, you can write in the chat. At the end, we'll ask you to give feedback to two of the groups. One of the groups will be the following group. So if you are in group 1, you will give a feedback to group 2. And then another group for your choice. You will find something which is interesting and you will give feedback. And if you notice in all your wiki pages, there is a link for feedback. And it's open to all of the students to give feedback. Ildiko, would you like to add something about the feedback?
I think we'll have to go for written feedback and not oral, because I'm just looking at my watch and time's flying, and we have 5 more groups. So maybe written feedback while you're listening or after the lesson, that would be great.
Okay.
Thank you.
So we'll go to group 2. Who would like to present group 2?
First of all, I would like to share with you our presentation. Can you hear me?
Yeah, this is Roba. Thank you, Roba, for presenting.
So our topic about online collaborative intercultural learning versus face-to-face collaboration. We will speak about this topic. So Ravital, would you like to speak first? Because it's your part.
Yes, this is my slide. I did find the advantages of a blended learning that combined face-to-face and virtual learning. And it was found that you need first to develop a common ground in the group, microculture. This enables the participant to solve the task at hand. In purely virtual collaboration, there is no body language, so you cannot see each other, you cannot assess the manner of tone. That can lead to and limit the effectiveness of communication. It's also, on the other hand, it's give the opportunity to respond with greater reflection and consideration. It's important that the initial stages, when you have it face-to-face and physical bonding, it's found out that it's one of the key strengths of the group to do the project in the right way entirely. So it's the better way, according to this article, is to combine both methods, face-to-face and virtual. This is they are complementary to each other, and in fact, they are deepening the process.
Sorry.
You skip one.
Yeah.
No, another one. This one, Roba.
Yeah, this is the next slide.
Yes, this.
Yes. From this research, and in our case, this comparison, I've concluded that the most efficient way or the ideal way to do the collaboration would be a face-to-face collaboration, but sometimes it's not easy to arrange a meeting from the university with people from different countries. So there are some benefits of learning online collaboration, such as the increasing interest about the other culture, the expansion of the students' global perspective, the increase of the multicultural awareness. And also there are some obstacles or some barriers, such as they have told in the previous presentation, such as the different time zones, maybe the technical problems. But if we consider some strategies before implementing this online learning, it can be very successful. And as we have done in this case, we have to have some topics which fit both sides. We have to provide bilingual language resources and having teachers such as we have 2 teachers as moderators. And that's it.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, that's good because my connection wasn't stable there for a second. Yeah, so this is my part, and I looked into a research article which reports on a relatively old research. It's basically a case study. It's not very representative, but I think the main ideas are things that we can sort of embrace and learn from, and I think they are true even today. So this was a qualitative study investigating the viability of instant messenger. Now, this is an older program. We use other programs nowadays, but the main function is the same as that of the ones that we use today. So the study included 8 students. This was a beginner Chinese language class. And yeah, the goal was to enable students to acquire basic Chinese skills while also teaching them about Chinese culture. And so 8 students were paired up with native speakers of Chinese, and so they collaborated on intercultural learning tasks over a 2-month period, and this was all done through this instant messenger thing. And so the results were quite positive, and they showed that the engagement and attentiveness of the students steadily increased. And well, you can see it on the slide. So the critical thinking skills also developed, and I think maybe the most important thing here is that they developed a greater sensitivity and respect for intercultural differences. What this means is that even though in most cases it's better to have a face-to-face intercultural training class or whatever, it is also possible to do this online. And I would also add that nowadays it's even better because, as you can see now, we are seeing each other's faces, and it is completely possible with today's technology if you have access to the internet. And I think we can all benefit from such online courses as well. So yeah, basically that was my part, I guess.
So now it's my part. I found an article that checks the students' satisfaction, performance, and knowledge construction in an online collaborative learning. And the results were that learners are encouraged to exchange their ideas. They are encouraged to share their perspectives. Also, the use of their previous knowledge in order to decide the best solution. So that was a positive article and positive results. They found that online collaborative enhances students' learning achievements, and therefore that leads to higher levels of satisfactions. So that was good results for a online collaborative learning. I talk shortly in order to be in the limits of 5 minutes. Now next.
Okay, then I will be short as well. Can everyone hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Cool. So the article that I chose was developing intercultural communicative competence for online exchanges, and this article was basically focusing on describing how online exchanges work and how can this play a role in second language learners' development of pragmatic competence and ICC. And it was an interesting fact that it said that just as in face-to-face communication, internet users also bring with them their own culturally specific communicative norms and modes of behavior, just as they would do in a classroom. And what is also important that they made a comparison between synchronous and asynchronous communication. They try different methods like chats, different platforms, different forums to test which works better. And the results were the asynchronous communication is a little better because in this way the students can be more like proactive rather than just reactive, like with synchronous communication, where you have a chat platform and then just react to each other, while in asynchronous mode, you can be proactive by raising questions. So I think that will be my part. Very, very, very short.
That's it for our group. So we can share the presentation if you would like to read more.
Yeah, maybe you can put it in your wiki page as a file there. I think it will be great if all of you will put it as a file in the wiki page. And thank you for your interesting presentation. Actually, it's about our experience here.
Yeah.
Because our experience was online collaboration, and we did some collaboration in the forums, in the wiki, and some of them are synchronous, not so much as we scheduled at the beginning when we thought that we'll start a week or 2 weeks earlier. So thank you for your presentation, and we'll start quickly with group 3. So who would like?
Yeah, Sheila, and I will start.
Okay.
I will share my screen.
Yeah.
Okay, can you see the presentation?
Yeah.
Good, okay. Okay, so this was our topic, collaborative online learning. And well, these days when teachers and pupils communicate with each other through different online applications, we thought it is important to examine the efficiency of the online learning. So my article presented a research in which students in a university in China collaboratively interacted with each other and discussed in different groups, which were heterogeneous or homogeneous learning styles and a control group. It means that basically there were 3 groups: a heterogeneous group, heterogeneous learning style groups, homogeneous learning style groups, and a control group that included groups without considering learning styles that interacted face-to-face. All the students' basic English knowledge was similar prior to the experiment, and they all had to discuss and negotiate in order to solve questions in English. Well, 2 of the research purposes were to investigate whether the online collaborative platform would improve the students' learning performance, and to compare the learning performances of the students who learned with different grouping strategies: the heterogeneous, the homogeneous learning style, and the random groups. Well, it was found that students who interacted online performed better than those who used the face-to-face learning approach, and that the homogeneous learning style group outperformed the heterogeneous. These were the main findings. We can learn from this article that collaborative online learning in homogeneous learning groups, learning style groups, can be efficient and improve the pupils' learning performance. This was my article, and we're moving to Doi.
Hello, I'm Dori. Well, my article was a little bit different. It was also focusing on a little project that they have.
Sorry for the interruption. There are some students that are open with the microphone, so please mute them so there will be no noise. Thank you.
Okay, so there was a small study done, and they wanted to see if how cross-cultural learning actually responds with students. And what they did is they had Americans, Lithuanians, Russians, and also Canadians in this article, and they wanted to see if they can, get together well and have a very swimming cooperation between them. So when they established this 6-week-long collaboration, they actually had only one topic. And while they had this one topic, it had all small, semi, and micro topics. Here you can see the main topic was media and I, so they wanted to stay somehow still relevant, so because they were online. And inside that topic, they had media and reality, media and gender issues, and lastly, they had media and violence. And basically what they did was they had a lot of speaking and communicative exercises. And what they actually found was really interesting because kind of their culture shined in the results of these discussions. For example, Lithuanians and Russians were more open to other cultures. And according to the numbers that they run, Americans were not so open to other cultures, which was very interesting. They actually were a bit neutral. So when we look at the charts, half of them responded that, yes, we have learned something new, and yes, this was something unknown to us. And while the other participants, so Canadians, Lithuanians, and Russians, they always responded they learned something new, so something that they have never heard of before. And lastly, when they asked about how they should cooperate again and have this cross-cultural learning, most of them actually said that they would like so, and that they would really want to get together. And they actually, all of the results said that they learned so much online, and it surprised them that they were more open. Even the Americans said that they had more open conversations when they did this online. And all of them agreed strongly that they want to repeat this experience, so they want to do it again. And what I personally found really interesting is when they were asked if they learned something new about their own country, only the Americans said that yes. Other than the other participants, only the Americans said that yes, we have learned something new about ourselves. The other participants did not. So what's the result of this research? The result was that even though the face-to-face connection was completely, cut off, they were actually more communicative and more open to each other. This was also a small research, so it's not something global. So the numbers were like 25 people actually took part in this research. It actually showed in micromanagement that they are actually open and they really wish to continue, and they're more open, as I said before. And this was my part, and now I'm giving the floor to Demeter, please.
Okay, so can anyone hear me? Can I have a yes or something?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, perfect, thank you. So I read a study about different ways of online collaboration, and in this study there were 3 different ways of online collaboration explored or analyzed in in very detailed modes. So each of these three different ways for online collaboration operates, of course, in an online environment. Surprise, surprise. It works like across borders, so different countries, mostly from Europe, participated in the testing of these these methods or models, should we call them that. And yeah, they work via different platforms for intercultural exchange. So like what we are doing right now, like different websites or wikis or shared files online, they work on those. Okay, so to describe these three models really concisely for the sake of time, there is the first one called e-tandem, which works between two language learners whose target languages are the other's mother tongues. Okay, so student A wants to learn English and speaks Spanish, and student B wants to learn Spanish and speaks English, if that makes any sense. Yeah, so in this model, they talk to each other with no planning beforehand. So they talk about whatever topic comes up, and they correct each other's like grammatical errors or vocabulary errors on the spot. So they work like really synchronously. Yes, and their success heavily depends on their rapport. So like how do they talk to each other, how much do they respect each other, and so on. The second model was called the culture model, and it is based on Heim's notion of communicative competence. You can read about it on the PPT, on the shared file which we made. Yeah, this model compares two groups of learners and their cultures, their respective cultures, and they look at each other's cultures synchronously, and they compare from different aspects, and they compare different small little things, and the model says this is the most efficient way of learning about another culture. Yes. Lastly, the e-twinning model. Again, it works via the internet, and it is basically a network of schools made by European schools in which learners collaborate through means of e-learning. So like what we do in Hungary, like these platforms for Moodle, Canvas, whatnot. And yeah, each model is, yeah, whatever. Yeah, here comes nothing else. So each model is worth further investigation and exploration for the promising results on developing students' intercultural and linguistic competences. And you can see all here on the PPT. So if you would like to further investigate, you can look for the title of my article. And yeah, I think that was it.
Thank you very much. Your research topics were very interesting, and
if it's okay, we have one last slide for this presentation. I'm the fourth person, and I will try to be very quick. You can see that there are only a couple of points on my slide. So I looked at this topic from a different point of view, and my article focused on the disadvantages. It was based on a study, more like a questionnaire that was handed out and collected in Australia, and they asked students about their experience of online collaboration and using online platforms and how they feel about that. And here is basically the results, or the bottom line, but the problems were that they collected. So at first, students thought that it would be easier, that platforms are available any time of the day, any day of the week, but it proved to be even more demanding to look at the website every day or multiple times a week compared to just attending one class that is dedicated to a certain discussion or a certain topic. So it was difficult to be on there all the time. And they felt that it's difficult to determine how much they have to work. So how much they have to write, how much they have to add to get a nice result or to get a nice mark in the end. Because it's different than, let's say, in class presentations, how much you have to write in a virtual learning environment to be sufficient. They found that referencing is very demanding. When in class we have a discussion, we can bring up names from whom we read certain ideas, but when we write about those ideas, we actually have to put the reference there, and it takes so much time and so much energy, and the students found that it was way more difficult than in a face-to-face session. Okay, it was hard to find the correct length of the message, because if they wrote too long messages, then their messages or posts got no response, and if they were left unread completely. And if they wrote too short messages, then the whole conversation became very superficial, but there were many responses, but just not really deep. Okay, the discussion itself, the students felt that became very superficial, not like in real class when you actually have a debate and you go back and forth. It becomes very superficial. I will answer because I have to answer, and it's very moderated. So students tend to write the thought that the lecturer or their teacher might have instead of what they think or how they feel. Students tend to express their ideas more in a face-to-face class than in a written format, because it stays there, a post stays there. It's an issue that workload is uneven within a group. Thank you, Shiren. So this happened very much for us, and thank you, Shiren, for saving all of us and for putting so much work into our collaboration.
Yes, thank you.
But yeah, this happens, that workload is shared unevenly. Okay. Yep, thank you. That was our presentation.
Thank you very much. And since I'm looking at the time and I'm trying to communicate with Ildiko, and we'll share our thoughts here. We had only 3 groups presentation. And I really think that we need to give the respect to the other 3 groups. And maybe we need to have another meeting. If it's okay from your side. The only problem is that next Tuesday, it's our Independent Day in Israel, and it's a holiday. So it will be in 2 weeks from now. Is it fine with you, Ildiko?
It's fine with me. I hope it's fine with the group too. But I really think that it would be important to give another 7-8 minutes to each group, because every group so far has taken 7, 8, or 10 minutes. So I wouldn't like to rush you. 2 weeks from now would be perfect for me. Hope it's okay with the group.
And then maybe maybe we'll have the last 10 minutes to discuss a little bit and to ask questions about your research. And also we asked you about the process and the issue of, you spoke about research, but we are, you know, in a small lab of Hungarian and Israelis doing collaborative learning. So we'll first refer to the 3 presentations. If you have any questions or comments, and then we'll come to the experience, because we would like each of the group to refer to the experience. So are there any comments or questions about the presentations?
Maybe can I make a suggestion? Can we have one more presentation? Whichever group would really like to do it today, because we have 10 more minutes. I mean, we have even more, but I know that your group only has 10 more minutes.
Yeah.
So we could have one more, and then we would only postpone 2 presentations to 2 weeks from now. That would be better for our course, because we have scheduled lots of other things. So is this okay?
And then we'll speak, the next meeting we'll speak about the experience. Okay, so we'll move to group 4.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
I will share my screen and start with the introduction of our topic. Which was the intercultural competence and the English as a lingua franca relationship. So we thought that this is very important in nowadays world to talk about and focus on our teachings into the theory and thoughts of English as a lingua franca, because as English teachers, this is our duty to react to the always changing situation of this language, because nowadays there are more occasions when non-native speakers use this language to communicate and to efficiently transfer their messages. So maybe our teaching and our modern classroom environment needs to change and react to this new situation, and maybe English as a lingua franca should be the main approach in our classrooms, which include lots of intercultural competence related feelings or approaches, such as being acceptable and be open and flexible to others and to the differences, and maybe not only focus to the aim to become like a native speaker when you are speaking this language. And now we will go through all the articles.
Hi, everyone. So we thought we'll start with kind of defining what lingua franca is and what is English as a lingua franca, and why not other languages as well. So I found this article about using English as a lingua franca in academic terms, and they kind of give you a really broad definition of what it is. So basically just a language, any language, it doesn't have to be English, that 2 groups of people from different cultures and different languages can use to communicate with each other. So that's one definition of what lingua franca should be. So just like what we're doing here, 2 groups who come from 2 different cultures with 2 different languages, pick one language to communicate with. And what turns it into a lingua franca is not the definition of what is good grammar or high register, or just a means to communicate with each other. So no one should really care about if we used ing correctly or if the adjective is correct. Just, can I understand what the other person is trying to say, even though we come from different cultures? That's that. Who's next?
Yeah, so with my article, so it more focused on the teaching aspect. So as you can see, the title says from classroom. So English as a lingua franca from classroom to classroom. So this study or this article really focused on the of contrasting English as a lingua franca and with the before used term or earlier used term EIL, which says which means English as an international language that was broadly used, and then another term that is mentioned in the article and contrasted with ELF was English as a native language, which is or which was and still according to course books, English teaching course books, and assessment tended to orientated rather like English as a, or seen English as a native language rather than a lingua franca. Yes, and then the study or the article, hence the title says from classroom to classroom, concentrated on teaching actually, and then you try to investigate the ways how students and learners accommodated to each other. So the ways how they found these accommodation strategies to the ELF users, and then it presented us various ways of these accommodations. For example, the use of code switching between the two languages, the L1 and the target language, and then it showed us that cultural identity also played a crucial role. The whole article gave us or can give us a very short and brief but very obvious way of the development of understanding ELF, and yeah, actually how it just developed through time, and that nowadays English has become rather an international language which serves as a lingua franca. And the other I would say the most important point or focus on the article was that since it became an international language, introducing this whole phenomenon of ELF, this starts with teacher education, if you want to introduce that into classrooms. So these ELF-oriented materials should be developed, and this is the starting point. This is where or how we should introduce ELF to English teaching. Yeah, so this was my part.
My article was also more like teacher, from more like a teacher and teaching perspective, but I don't really want to repeat the others, so I will highlight the points that discusses the development of the materials. So it also, according to the author, one of the problem of the materials that the world of the globalization, so the world that we live in, changes very rapidly, and the materials cannot follow these changes in every situations. So it's still the emphasis still on the appropriateness and the correctness, and regardless on the learner's optional or potential communication context. And also it discusses the advantages and the disadvantages of authentic materials, and it said that one of the example for the disadvantages was that authentic materials can be hard to include in a very different context. So if the culture is very different from, for example, the British or the American culture, and also it said that we should consider that, for example, the learners from the European Union use the English to communicate with also students from here, and that way we shouldn't only concentrate the Western cultures like American culture. The author was a Japanese woman, so the article came up with some example how the Japanese education includes the perspective of lingua franca. That's it.
Okay, the fourth article was also about how we should teach English as a lingua franca, it focused more on the situation in Europe, where they said that we teachers need to be ready to welcome this new approach, which, according to Jennifer Jenkins, this English lingua franca has a core which concludes all the essential parts for intelligibility, meaning all the other grammatical aspects can be left out from our teachings, but we can still achieve that our students can be efficient and they can use English efficiently without any misunderstanding. The main example was like dropping the third person S or not using the gerund form is not a big problem, although most of the teachers still uses lots of classes and time for teaching these parts of the language. So the aim should be changed a little bit because, as I said it earlier, students are not required anymore to achieve a native-like language acquisition, but the primary aim is to communicate efficiently and deliver our message easily.
Okay, so although lingua franca has many advantages, I chose to look at it from a different perspective, and I found an amazing article not long ago from 2015 that speak about English and why maybe English wipe out other languages. So as you can see, some groups of people in the world are concerned that the enlargement of English can result in a monolingual and undiversified world. In addition, they are concerned that the result will be a spread of the same word culture, which they think is a disaster. And they gave one unique example, mainly in Europe, in Nordic countries. So a lot of researchers claimed that English seriously threatens the existence of tiny national languages, and this is something that came up again and again in the article. That's all.
So here you can see our resources, and thank you very much for your attention.
Okay, thank you very much. We are still in the middle of the presentation, and I assume that we'll have now 2 weeks before we can continue. Ildiko, about the feedback, should we leave it to the final presentation in 2 weeks?
I think if you want to, I mean, while the experience is fresh, maybe people want to comment on each other's presentations. So comment on one other group's presentation if possible. And then 2 weeks from now, we'll write another comment on another presentation when we have heard them all. Is this okay?
So to give the comments, I just want to show you where to put it. Actually, I opened in each of the groups wiki page, but I looked again and I saw that in some of the wikis, you change it. So I want to share the place with you. Let me just show you maybe in group 5. At the end of the wiki page, I put a link to a new page which called feedback. So in group 1, 2, 3, when you edited the last 2 days or 3 days, you just change it. So I can put it again, but you can also put it, and maybe I will show to all of the students when you go to edit and then you want to open a new page, you just put a feedback in the in these two how you call it
square brackets.
Yeah. So, and then when you save it, it will come to a new page. And when you go to the new page, you have just to create a page, and then you start to write in it, and just put your name like Miri. I think that, and that will give feedback to your to the other groups. And as I said at the beginning, each of you will give feedback to the group following, like group 1 to group 2, group 2 to group 3, and then you can choose another group, the second one. Then of course, if you want to give 3 feedback, it's fine. And this might improve the wiki page of the groups. So if you have any questions, or so, I think that it was so interesting, and I'm really sorry that we have to finish, and but we will continue at the 5th of May, and keep and stay safe and healthy, and we'll meet in 2 weeks. Yeah,
can I ask my group to stay in this Zoom space for another 10 minutes?
Yeah,
so we can talk about other things. And Miri, before you leave, can you make me host?
Yeah, I will try to do it.
If you go to participants,
manage participants,
my name, and then more, and then make host or something like that.
Yeah. So I'm not sure if I leave the room, if something happens, or you can.
Miri, if you go by her name, there are 3 points. If you choose points, you can make it host, and you can leave. I did it today, and you can leave.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, Okay, Ildiko, if there is something, just let me know. Just write me an email,
I think Alfred will manage. And thank you very much, everybody. Very interesting presentations today.
Okay, and just if you can send me the link to the afternoon tour at the Zoom.
It's in the chat, I think, but I can send it to you again. I put it in the chat here for everyone.
Okay. If you okay, so thank you very much, and we'll meet in 2 weeks. And to my class, I will send you an email about how we continue, because we don't have a class next week. Okay, so thank you. It was so interesting, and I'm looking forward to meet you in 2 weeks.
Thank you. See you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.